You're watching BrainDose. Why we sleep walks through the mechanics and purpose of sleep cycles. Repair, memory, emotion, and circadian timing over a 2-hour documentary. As the image fades to black and the room settles, we begin at the shoreline of night. There is nothing to do and nothing to win. Sleep is not a test. It is not a trick. It is a change of weather inside the body, a dimming of lamps in quiet rooms. You already know. You are not late. You are not early. You are simply arriving. If sounds appear in the distance, let them be distant. If a thought brushes past, let it keep walking. Tonight we only look at the simple shape of a night, the way. It usually bends from here to morning. Sleep does not fall like a curtain all at once. It arrives like a tide that moves in, rests, then slips back a little and returns again. The body chooses slower rhythms. Breathing lengthens. Muscles loosen. Warmth spreads and then drifts away from the surface of the skin. In this soft change, you do not need to steer. You can float the way a leaf floats, carried by water that knows where the river goes. The mind need not be quiet to begin. It only needs permission not to strain. Across most nights, you glide through repeating cycles. In the earlier part, the water is deeper and calmer. This is the quiet country often called non-REM. Later in the night, the surface turns more reflective and story-colored. This is the time of REM, when the eyes dance beneath closed lids while the body stays still and safe. You do not have to remember any of these words. The body recognizes these regions the way a traveler knows a familiar path by feel, not by map. Each cycle lasts a while and then gives way to the next, but they are not clocks you must obey. Some nights you linger longer in the deep. Some nights you visit dreams more often. Short awakenings happen, 2 brief surfacings where you adjust a pillow or notice the window's hush. They are not failures. They are small islands in the same sea, and the sea carries you onward. Even if you do not remember sleep, your body often has the proof. A softened face, steadier breath, edges rounded down. The shape of a night is allowed to be imperfect. A busy day can echo at the start. A strong cup can keep a drumbeat in the background. Even so, the tide keeps moving. You can let go of the idea that sleep must arrive on command. It is a visitor who comes when invited by quiet, not when demanded by effort. If the visitor lingers at the door, keep the lamp low. Keep the room cool. Let your breathing count the minutes for you, unhurried and kind. The way waves touch shore and pull away. It helps to think of night as a set of dim galleries in a museum that opens only for you. In the first gallery, the chatter of the day grows, faint. In the next, the floor feels softer underfoot. Farther on, the walls show calmer colors. You do not need to stop and study. You can walk and glance. You can sit and close your eyes. The guard in this museum is not stern. It is sleep itself, patient and gentle, guiding you forward without a word. If thoughts continue to arrive, greet them like guests who are leaving soon. Give each a nod and let it take its coat. You do not need to argue with a guest who is already halfway out the door. Some will promise to return tomorrow. That is fine. There is room for them then. For now the house grows quieter as doors click shut one by one. The hallway narrows to a warm tunnel of air, and at the end of it is a bed that already holds your shape. You may notice a small drift between warm and cool, heavy and light, near and far. This is the body organizing the trip. Hands and feet slacken. First, then shoulders and jaw. The eyes rest in their pools. Breath becomes a slow metronome, and the heart chooses a companion beat. If a muscle twitches, It is only the body testing the ropes before letting the boat float free. You are being carried. You are not required at the wheel. By now the pattern of the night is simple to picture. Quieter waters, then dreamlit waters, and quiet again, like 3 or 4 easy arcs drawn across a page. There is nothing sharp in it. There is nothing that needs solving. If you wake and turn, the pattern waits for you when you return. If you sleep and do not notice time, that is the pattern working exactly as it should. Morning is not an alarm. You must fear. It is only the shore the tide reaches when it is finished. Hold this map lightly. Early night, deeper quiet. Late night, more dreaming. In between, ordinary crossings. That is all you need to know. The rest is permission. Permission to be here as you are, to let the room be dark, to let the body choose for once. Sometimes the mind wonders whether it is working. It looks for signs and clocks and perfect numbers. You can let those go. Nights are not scored. There is no judge with a clipboard. Rest is not only what happens when you cannot remember. Rest is also what happens when you are lying quietly, letting the body choose a slower gear. Even a stretch of wakefulness in the dark can be part of the passage. Boats pause at calm harbors without abandoning the voyage. You are still on the water. If you notice time passing, try noticing something softer instead. The way the sheet touches the skin, the weight of the blanket at the ankles, the small cool places and the small warm places trading turns. Let the jaw unclasp and settle. Let the tongue sit heavy and quiet in the mouth. Let the eyes be pebbles resting on a riverbed. The map doesn't erase your choices. It only points gently. Some nights come in 2 acts, a long, deep first part, then a brief intermission, then a lighter, dream-rich second part before the day. This too can be normal. The interval need not be used for anything. You do not have to reach for a screen or a clock. If you are awake, you can be awake the way a shore is awake quiet, without hurry. If you are asleep, you can be asleep the way the sea is asleep moving under the surface, even when no one is watching. When you release the wish to control every minute, the night often softens by itself. Effort is like wind against the face. When it calms, the water feels warmer. You can let the shoulders drop, as if setting down a bag. You can let the spine grow a little heavier, the way a book closes when the reading is done. And if a memory insists on showing a scene, let it play on an empty wall and fade at its own pace. The theater cleans itself between shows. At any point, you may return to a simple picture, a tide that moves in and moves out and carries you with it. The first waves are quiet. The later waves have small lights in them. Motion continues, with or without notice. Nothing important is missed by closing your eyes. From here we will slip beneath the surface and visit the slow waves where the body mends. We have reached the quieter water. From the map you now hold lightly, we step down one more stair and feel the floor turn to sand. This is the slow wave part of the night, the wide and steady portion where the body prefers to whisper. Nothing is required. You may imagine putting your keys in a bowl by the door of the day and hearing that small sound fade. The house is still yours. It is simply closing its eyes. Here, muscles stop asking for plans, shoulders unhook. The jaw remembers how to hang. Hands open the way a book opens, and then rests. The spine settles into the mattress as if the mattress were learning your name. Breathing lengthens and rounds. Each inhale is a slow tide in. Each exhale, a longer tide out. The heart follows, choosing an easy companion beat. It is not a performance. It is a lowering of lights, a room where the dimmers finally work. If you listen to this moment with a gentle stethoscope for the whole body, you would hear less punctuation and more phrases. Movements shrink to whispers. Small repairs begin like careful sewing. A thread here, a knot there, a patch smoothed flat. Soreness loosens its grip. Tightness remembers. It does not have to hold the world up all night. You are not doing these things. They are being done for you by a part of you that is good at taking turns. Temperature drifts toward comfort. Warmth pools where weight meets bed, and cooler air brushes the places that need it. A deep chemistry of rest takes unhurried steps. What was too fast slows. What was too scattered begins to gather. If the day left echoes in the limbs, a stare hurried, a bag carried, a laugh felt in the ribs, those echoes soften into background. Think of a workshop closed for the evening, benches wiped, tools hung, one light left on to say, "We will continue in the morning." In slow waves, attention no longer leans forward. It is as if the mind moved from the tip of a ship to the center where the rocking is smaller. Thoughts that demanded headlines shrink to captions, and captions drift off the page. You do not have to narrate this. You can let the body narrate with breath and weight and warmth. The body knows this chapter. It wrote it long before you learned the word sleep. If a urge to adjust arises, you may honor it and then let the limb go heavy again. Heaviness is not a problem. It is a permission slip. Eyelids are allowed to be stones at the bottom of a clear pond. The tongue is allowed to rest against the lower teeth and do nothing of use. Knees and ankles negotiate a truce and stop sending memos. The skin loosens its attention and decides that tonight the world can be softer at the edges. There is a kindness to these slow waves. They make room. They trade the day's precise focus for a wider field, the way a lens opens to let in more dusk. In that wider field, the nervous system can practice being unhurried. Alarms dim. Small repairs, adjustments, and calibrations happen at their own pace. Imagine a quiet station where trains are shunted to the right tracks for the morning. Wow. The platforms sit empty and clean. You may notice how the breath and the heartbeat cooperate now. Inhale, the rib cage rises a little. Exhale, the rib cage falls. Between them is a small pause, like the space between waves. That pause is not empty. It is full of nothing to do. If a stray worry tries to climb aboard, it finds no stairs. To the deck, the ship is content to drift. Your only job is to be carried. From time to time, a deeper pool appears. Those are the moments when the world grows very far away, but not frightening. Sound becomes a weather report you hear from another room. The bed has gravity, and you are willing to be a small moon held by it. In this depth, the details that made the day busy lose their calendar. Names stop needing last names. Lists stop needing bullets. You are not losing anything important. You are allowing what is important to rest. Some people imagine slow wave sleep as fields in moonlight. Others imagine ocean shelves, broad and safe, with gentle swells passing overhead. Choose whichever picture feels heavier at the edges and friendlier in the middle. Both pictures share the same rule. You may do less now. If the body wants to sink, let it sink as far as comfort allows. If the breath wants to draw the count longer on the way out, let it lengthen by 1 or 2 quiet numbers. It is also normal. To drift up for a moment, turn the pillow, or sense a shoulder and release it. Coming and going belongs to this stage too. The depth is generous, not strict. Think of a conversation with a friend you trust. Pauses are welcome and do not need filling. The night trusts you in the same way. It knows you will return to thee. Quiet even if a small island asks for a footstep. There is a gentle practicality in this deep part of the night. What was frayed starts to weave. What was overused asks for oil and receives it. Signals that were shouty become diagrams. The body is not a machine, but it keeps good tools. Tonight the tools are put away in the right drawers. Labels are straightened, lids are tightened, surfaces are wiped down and left to dry in the dark. The benefit does not require your attention. It prefers your absence. If you would like a simple practice here, you may track 4 breaths, each slightly longer on the way out. Not a technique, only a counting of corners, in and out. In, out, in and out, in and out. At the last corner, drop the counting and return to floating. If counting slips away after 1 breath, that is also fine. The point is not perfection. The point is to be heavy enough to let the bed do the work of holding dot. All of this happens while the mind's stage lights fade and the backstage becomes more interesting than the show. It is okay if you never see it. The crew prefers the dark. The audience is invited to go home early. From the balcony, you may notice only a widening quiet in a sense that effort has stepped off the scene. That is the sign on the door that says, slow waves at work. Positions lose their importance here. There is no single correct way to lie down. Side or back, curled or long, pillow high or low covered is a moving target, and you are allowed to follow it. If a foot wants to find a cooler patch, let it explore and then be still again. If a shoulder asks for an inch more space, give it what it asks and return to heavy. Bodies are polite when they are trusted. They settle more easily when not argued with. Distant sounds may visit the hush of traffic, a hallway door, a whisper of pipes. Let them register as patterns rather than messages. The sleeping mind is skilled at downgrading importance. A sound that asked for attention in daylight becomes background at night, like rain remembered from childhood. Safety is the rule in this room. 4 walls, a roof, a bed, your breath. The sense of being held replaces the habit of being on guard dot as the first long arcs of night complete themselves. You may sense a slight brightening at the edges of awareness, the way a dawn happens inside the dark before the sky changes. That is the rhythm preparing to turn toward a lighter, more story-colored water. There is nothing to do about it. The deep part has offered what it offers: steadier breath, looser muscle, kinder pace. Now the tide leans toward dreams. We will let it carry us there, to the flicker and color of NREM, where the mind can rehearse safely while the body stays still. From the slow and generous depth, the night begins to brighten in a quiet way. You may feel a small lightness at the edges of awareness, as if a lantern were carried past a doorway. This is where dreams become more likely. The body remains still and safe, while the eyes may flicker beneath closed lids. Nothing is required of you. Stories will arrive even if you do not invite them, and they will leave even if you do not dismiss them. In this part of the night, the mind likes to rehearse without consequence. It takes pieces from the day and pieces from long ago and lays them next to each other like pages on a table. A hallway from childhood may open into a room you visited this week. A sentence you heard at lunch may join a word from a book you read years ago. The seams do not have to match. Meaning does not need to be tidy. The point is not accuracy. It is gentle practice, the way a musician hums in the dark. Muscles remain quiet so that scenes can play safely. The body does not act out the story. It holds you as an audience of one. If the dream invites running, breathing may quicken for a moment and then return to calm. If the dream shows someone you love, warmth may pass through the chest and then settle. If the dream wanders into nonsense, you do not need to correct it. Nonsense is only the mind trying out shapes. The way waves draw patterns and erase them. Emotions often visit here in softer form. Feelings that were sharp by daylight can be rounded in dreams, handled without splinters. A worry may shrink too. A puzzle with too few pieces, easy to set aside. A grief may become a room you enter and leave without staying. Not every dream is comfortable, but even an uneasy one is allowed to pass through like weather. The story does not have to be solved. You can let it move across the inner sky and fade beyond the ridge. Some dreams are practical without looking practical. You wake with a small solution, or with a clearer sense of a choice, as if a shelf had been labeled in the night. Other dreams are playful composites, colors, faces, fragments that never existed together and never will again. Both kinds are useful, even if you never remember them. Benefit does not require recall. Many nights do their best work in silence you will never. Revisit. If you do wake from a vivid scene, you may choose a simple kindness. Notice one breath arrive and one breath leave. Let the exhale be slightly longer, as if fog were leaving the mouth on a cool morning. Say to yourself, just a dream, not to dismiss it, but to set it down. Keep the room dark. Let the pillow. Hold the head like a hand that does not tire. Clocks are not helpful here. Numbers try to turn the mind back on. The night prefers counting nothing at all. Dreams often borrow the tone of the day and soften it. After many conversations, a dream might arrange voices into a choir that never sings at once, only in turns. After many steps, a dream might put you on a quiet train that rocks without destination. After many decisions, a dream might build a corridor with doors that open onto harmless rooms. Your role is simple, to be carried through as if through galleries where you do not have to stop. You might notice that dreams gather more often toward the morning, when the night has already given you its deeper rest. Earlier, the cycles leaned, heavier toward quiet water. Later, the surface shimmers more. A few longer stretches of story, then another dip into stillness. Short awakenings can happen between them, small islands again. They are not failures. They are places to turn your head, smooth the sheet, and be carried back. Not all scenes are bright. Some are dim and gentle like evening streets after rain. Voices may be present without words. Movements may be suggested rather than taken. The mind does not need high contrast to learn. Low light is enough. The task is never to chase a dream or to hold it. Chasing wakes the muscles. Holding tight wakes the mind. Let both be unnecessary. Let the river bring what it brings and take what it takes. If a familiar person appears, you are allowed to feel what you feel and still rest. If a stranger appears, you are allowed to be curious without following. If a place is almost known, you are allowed to let it remain almost known. Dreams are generous in this way. They give you the taste without the task. The aftertaste is often calm, even when the scene was odd. You can trust the oddness to take care of itself. Creativity enjoys this hour. Ideas that seemed far apart sit closer together. A line finds its next line. A stuck door opens because no one is pushing it. You may wait knowing only that something arranged itself while you are gone. That knowledge is enough. Not every spark needs a note. With rest, many sparks wait politely for daylight and then present themselves without drama. Sometimes a dream startles you like a door closing softly in a quiet house. If that happens, notice 3 small anchors: the weight at your heels, the contact at your hips or back, the air at the tip of your nose. Let the exhale be just a shade longer than the inhale. You are in your bed. The scene is not here. The picture was inside and is already thinning. With each breath, the room becomes more itself, and you can drift the way a leaf returns to the surface after a ripple passes. The body continues to guard you. Even while the mind draws and edits and splices, the bones lie heavy, the limbs loose, the jaw slack. Breath and heart keep their steady partnership. Temperature drifts toward comfort. The safe stillness of the frame allows the picture inside to move freely. It is a kindness the body gives the mind. Tell your story. I will keep us here. If an image lingers after you wake, you may let it fade the way steam leaves a mirror. If it asks to be written down, you can choose to write it tomorrow. For now, you can leave the pen uncapped in a dream you will revisit or forget. Either outcome is correct. Either way, you can roll one shoulder, find a cooler corner of the sheet, and let the eyes become heavy stones again. Remember, your value is not measured by how much you remember from the night. There is no report to submit. There is only the calm that gathers when effort sits down. The dream-rich part of sleep is not a test of insight. It is a safe rehearsal, a place where feelings and ideas try their steps without an audience. When the rehearsal ends, the stagehands dim the light and the theater rests. Now the tide will change once more. The stories thin, the water darkens, and the body returns to its quiet maintenance. Without hurry, we will follow it to the patient. Work of the night shift, the gentle tending of hormones, the unshowy care of immunity, the tidy balance of the body at rest. From the dream-lit water, we return to something quieter and practical. The night shift of the body comes on without speeches or clatter. Lights dim behind the ribs. Work tables are wiped. Tools are set out in neat rows. There is no rush. The body has done this for years. You can let it do what it knows. Heart and breath choose the easy tempo again. Pressure eases in the pipes. Flow becomes smooth and even. The chest rises the way a small wave lifts a pier and then sets it down. You are not steering this. The rhythm finds itself. Each exhale writes a short line that says, enough for now. Energy settles. After the day's meals and movements, the inner river runs clearer. Peaks flatten into level ground. Stores are tidied, shelves restocked, labels straightened. Muscles that sped freely set something aside. The body prefers steady light over flashlights. Night gives it that steady light. Signals that shape appetite rehearse their lines. Enough becomes easier to hear. Not yet becomes quieter. Tomorrow's cravings are often softened by the work done now. A small kindness carried forward. There is nothing to calculate. Numbers can sleep. The body speaks in feeling comfortable, unhurried, ready to wait. Quiet messengers travel in pulses, gentle reminders that repair and growth are scheduled tonight. Worn fibers are stitched. Edges are sanded smooth. Skin takes stock of its small. Scuffs, bones and tendons receive careful attention, the way a craftsman oils hinges and checks the grain. You do not have to point where it hurts. The night shift knows where the traffic was heavy. Blood vessels enjoy the calm. They stretch a little and rest a little. The river meets fewer stones. Organs take turns. Some work, some watch, none hustle. Kidneys keep a measured pace. The liver keeps books without drama. Balance is not a single number. It is the feeling of a room put back in order after guests have gone. The immune crew walks its rounds. They carry soft lamps, not alarms. If they met something new today, they practice its outline quietly. If old lessons grew dusty, they dust them. Labels are checked. Notes are filed. The point is not battle. The point is readiness that does not disturb the house. Sometimes a spark of irritation from the day still glows. Night gives it air and then takes the air away in the next breath until the spark cools to ash. Swelling softens. Edges of redness. Agree to come back tomorrow in smaller shapes. A body prefers peace when peace is possible. The night is its best chance to make peace likely. Muscles that carried you all day are happy to be dull for a while. Micro tears are lined up and matched. Strands are brought level, like threads pulled straight across a loom. Joints that took. Many steps lie flat in their hammocks. The back lets go of the habit of holding the horizon up. Heavy is good. Heavy means held. The stomach steps off stage. The gut lowers its lights. If dinner was late or loud, the echo remains for a time, but even then, the system works gently, with patience rather than force. Your part is simple: stillness. When the body is allowed to choose a slower gear, the machinery prefers not to grind. Temperature drifts toward comfort. Heat leaves the surface in small size. The core cools by a degree that feels like permission. Feet find a cooler patch of sheet and become quiet. A room that is slightly cool teaches the body a word it likes to hear at night. Down. Down in light, down in noise, down in demand. Breath and heart keep conferring, as if two old friends were catching up in low voices. A longer exhale suggests calm, and calm agrees to stay. If you want a simple anchor, you can notice 4 slow corners. In, pause out, pause no counting required, only the shape of the cycle. Do it once or twice, and let it go. It is normal for the work to vary. Some nights are repair heavy, like a shop after a long day. Some nights are light, like tidying after a quiet afternoon. The benefit is not graded. You do not earn it with effort. You receive it because you lay down when the night arrived and allowed the crew to enter. The skin takes its turn. Tiny doors. Open and close to keep what should stay and release what should go. Places that met sun or wind are soothed without asking. The face forgets the day's expressions. The brow smooths without being told to smooth. You do not need a mirror to know that the mask has slipped off, and the person underneath is resting deep in the body. Small clocks coordinate like dancers who know the routine. Their steps line up so morning can begin in an orderly way later. For now they dim the house from the inside. Lights lower, hallway doors swing shut, upstairs rooms quiet. If you wake and listen for a sound, you hear only the gentle traffic of caretakers moving from room to room. None of this needs your attention, but your attention is welcome to linger at the edge of it. You can imagine a workshop with soft lamps. You can imagine a garden at night, humid and still, where growth happens slowly between breaths. You can imagine a library where books return themselves to the right shelves as the clock ticks softer and softer. If a worry asks for a signature, the answer tonight is a rubber stamp that reads later. Later is a kind word in the dark. It makes space for the work at hand. The body does its math with touch and time, not with pens and pads. When you give it hours without interruption, it pays you back in quiet ways you notice only by contrast less. Friction when you move, less static in your head, fewer spikes in how the day feels. And so the night shift continues. Steady signals, smooth rivers, a house put back together with care. When this patient work has made enough room, another team will open windows higher up. Air will move through the studio of the mind. Brushes will be capped, floors swept, aisles cleared for tomorrow's ideas. Without hurry and without noise, we will join them there at the cleaning shift that makes space for what comes next. From the practical hum of the body's night shift, another team arrives and opens the windows higher up. The air inside the mind changes temperature. You may feel it as a widening, a little more room between one thought and the next. There is stillness, but it is not empty. It is a careful kind of activity, quiet people in soft shoes, moving through a studio after a long day, putting things where they belong. Imagine the day as an art room that grew busy without trying. Palettes were left open, brushes leaned in jars, sketches spread over every table. Footprints crossed the floor between easels. None of this was wrong. It meant you were alive and working. Night does not scold the mess. Night says gently, let's clear the aisles so tomorrow has somewhere to walk. Windows unlatch. Cool air slips along the walls. The mind does something like dusting. It keeps the canvases you used and sets aside the drop cloths that only caught stray paint. Paths that were practiced and helpful stay bright. Side routes that led nowhere grow dim. This is not erasing your past. It is making space so that the lines you will draw tomorrow have room to curve. You do not have to name what is being kept or what is being set down. That choice does not live in words. It lives in the quiet math the night performs. When a day is dense, the mind needs aisles. When a day is scattered, the mind needs shelves. The cleaning shift builds both wide corridors you can think in and labeled places where thoughts can rest. Some of the work feels like opening drains that were painted shut. Background flows begin to move, carrying away what built up when the studio was crowded. You may notice the faintest sense of, there is space again, even if you cannot point to what left. The feeling is enough. It means tomorrow's. Ideas will not trip over today's footprints. Other work feels like trimming ivy from a window. Connections that grew wild and crossed the glass are clipped back to let in light. The big vine that holds the window is kept. The tangles that caught dust are not. You are not losing something precious. You are restoring the view. A cleaner. Pain does not change the landscape. It lets the landscape be seen. There are corners in any studio where scraps collect. A phrase that began well and ran out of road. A plan that was too many sizes at once. A worry that reproduced itself. The crew walks those corners, stacks what might be useful, and recycles the rest. Where there were piles, there are now clear squares of floor. Where there were overlapping notes, there is a single sheet. Sometimes the mind set a brush down mid-stroke because another task called. Tonight, hands you never see cap the brush and rinse it. The line will be there in the morning, ready for a clean start. Other times the mind tried 3 approaches and kept none. The cleaning shift writes a small arrow in the margin that says, begin here. You do not need to read the arrow now. The morning reader will know. You might imagine books reshelving themselves. Spines straighten. Volumes return to the aisles where their neighbors live. A few thin pamphlets slip into a bin labeled references. 1 or 2 heavy atlases find a lower shelf so they will not fall. When you ask for a page tomorrow, the library will not have to search. A hand will reach to the right place at once. The silence in the room is particular. It is not the hush of waiting. It is the hush of work being completed. Wood grain looks oiled. The sweep marks on the floor form neat waves. The clock ticks with less echo because the air is clearer. If you wake here, you may feel puzzled for a second, the way we all do when we find a room cleaner than we left it. Then you may drift again, trusting the surprise. If a stubborn blot refuses to lift, the crew covers it with fresh paper and leaves a note. Address in daylight. This is kindness, not neglect. Some tasks belong to waking, when your hands are real and the sun has weight. The night does not pretend to be the day. It only gives the day a better starting place. You are allowed to leave work for your future. Self without guilt. There is gentleness in what gets set aside. Wild associations that served only to tangle are loosened. Repetitions that ran like a machine are unplugged. Self-criticism that auditioned for the lead is sent home with thanks. And no promise of a callback. The room is not empty. It is just no longer noisy dot between motions. The crew stands back and looks across the floor. Space is the point. Ideas need runways. Feelings need places to sit down without knocking over a tray. When you open your eyes, tomorrow, you will not think a crew cleaned here. You will think more easily. You will reach more directly. You will walk without bumping the elbow of a thought that was left at the wrong angle. Now, and then a small draft passes through. A breath that feels deeper, a release behind the eyes, the forehead smoothing on its own. Take these as gentle signs, not goals. Signs that the room is making room, that effort has stepped aside, that tomorrow's path is being cleared while you do nothing at all. When the aisles are clear and the shelves labeled, something else can happen that is not exactly cleaning and not exactly building. Pieces that lived too far apart to notice one another can now meet at the same table. An unanswered question can sit beside a tool it did not know was useful. A half idea can find its missing shape. This is the beginning of learning that will settle later. We do not need to chase that beginning. We only need to offer it space. The studio is swept. The tables are open. The windows remember how to breathe. Let the crew dim their lamps and close the door behind them. In the next room, another gentle shift will file the day's notes and bind them where you can reach memory, finding its shelves, quiet and sure, while you keep resting. The studio is swept. Tables are open. On one of them lies the day names you heard, steps you took, a detail from a sign, a line from a page, a small skill you tried. Night does not grade these. It simply asks where each piece belongs, so that tomorrow can find it without searching. Think of a simple card catalog with wide drawers. The hand you cannot see places today's cards where they will be easy to reach. A new face from the morning sits near other faces in the place you met. A street you walked for the first time slides beside nearby streets and a landmark you already knew. A word you practiced in a new language rests with words that sound like it and words that mean the same thing. Nothing is thrown away in anger. Nothing is kept out of fear. The plan is order, not pressure. Facts settle in one kind of drawer. Steps and skills settle in another. If you practiced emotion typing a shortcut, turning a wrist, the rhythm of a chord, the pattern gets a quieter, stronger outline. The outline does not need you to watch it. It prefers you not to. Rehearsal is light and brief, like tracing over a pencil mark, so it will not fade. Some pieces need context before they make sense. Night supplies that context. A fact without a hook gets a hook. A name gets linked to a place, a voice, a reason you cared for a moment. A clue you overlooked is paired with the question it answers. The point is not to store everything. The point is to make the stored things easier to find. Sometimes the work looks like connecting rooms that were once separated. A thought from last week meets a scene from today and realizes they belong on the same shelf. A rule you learned years ago sits beside a new exception, and the two stop arguing. The bridge is small and quiet. In the morning, you may notice only that something that felt scattered now feels reachable. There is also a kind of gentle sorting that feels like forgetting, but is actually remembering well. Duplicates stack together. Blurry copies are allowed to fade if a clearer copy exists. Details that do not help you live tomorrow are placed in a far drawer where they do less tripping. This is not loss. It is less clutter around what matters. If you studied, night does not continue the study. It does the shelving. You are not cramming now. You are letting the library do its work. That is why lying here without trying can still be part of learning. Effort has a time in the day. Allowing has a time at night. Both are useful because they take turns. You might notice how the mind likes to replay small pieces at low volume, the way a hallway echoes once after footsteps. Pass. A conversation runs for 2 lines and stops. A scene appears for 1 frame and dissolves. These small replays carry the new card to the right drawer and leave it there. You do not need to hold the picture for it to be saved. Certain memories love. The company of feeling. The laugh you shared with a friend remembers the warmth as much as the words. The street you walked in wind remembers the weight of your coat. Night keeps these together, the fact, the feeling, the setting. In the morning, they come back in one piece rather than scattered parts. If you wake and the mind offers a list, you can be kind and say, tomorrow. You can imagine the list as papers already being clipped together for you. If you wake and an idea arrives, you can whisper a short title for it and let it rest. You do not need to sketch the whole design at 3A.M. Ideas that survive the night are usually glad to be written in daylight. Now and then. An answer appears without a question being asked in the moment. The jar lid opens because no one is. Twisting. A sentence finds its next sentence because you stopped pushing. This is not magic. It is the natural result of pieces being near each other on the same table. When there is space and order, some things complete themselves. There is also mercy in how memory is stored. Not everything needs detail. A cafe may be corner warm. Kind staff without the color of the cups. A root may be left at the tall tree, then the bridge without the number of steps. A person's name may live next to patient, clear, and that is enough to find it when you meet again. Night chooses useful handles, so the drawer opens with one gentle pull. If a difficult scene from the day arrives, but night often lowers its volume while it files. You are not asked to relive. You are allowed to let the scene pass down a hallway and into a room where it will be stored safely. When light returns, you can decide what to do with it. For now, the task is only safe storage and some air around it. You may picture the shelves from another angle, paths in a quiet garden. In daylight, you walk quickly and miss forks. At night, a path is raked clear and a small stone is placed at an important turn. In the morning, you walk the same garden and find your feet choosing the clearer route without knowing why. That is learning as a feeling. Less friction, more ease. Tiny bits of practice matter here too. A new keystroke, the first half of a phone. Number, the order of 2 small steps in a task night, lines them up and knocks them gently together until they click. You wake with movements that feel smoother and choices that feel closer to hand. The improvement is modest and honest. Nothing dramatic, just fewer snags. If you tried too many things today, night will pick a few to stabilize and let the rest wait. This is not failure. It is pacing. The library does not bind every book at once. It selects the ones most likely to be needed. Tomorrow you can return with more pages. Tomorrow night will make room again. You may wonder, what if I do not remember? Anything from sleep? That is common and fine. The benefit of this work is measured in how the day feels, not in what the night shows you. Easier recall, steadier steps, softer effort. That is the receipt. The process can be invisible and still complete. As this shelving continues. You might notice three anchors that make it easier to let go: the weight of your heels, the contact at your back or side, the coolness at the tip of the nose on each inhale. You can touch each anchor once with attention, and then allow attention to drift. The library prefers a quiet visitor dot when the drawers close and the last card slides into place. The room does not go dark all at once. Lights dim by rows. The air still smells faintly of paper and wood. The path to tomorrow looks a little clearer than before. You did not force this. You only kept still while the work was done. From here, another part of the night takes interest in how you feel rather than what you know. The same calm that helped facts and steps find their shelves will help moods lose their sharp edges. We will let the library rest and walk toward that softer weather, where stress lowers its voice and resilience finds its seat. The library grows quiet. Drawers close. Cards rest. Now another kind of work begins, less about facts and steps, more about weather inside the heart. You do not have to name feelings for this to happen. You do not have to explain them or solve them. Night has its own way of lowering the wind. All days carry a mix: small sun, small rain, a breeze that made something easier, a gust that made something hard. Some of it you noticed. Some of it simply touched you and moved on. In darkness, the body offers the mind a gentle appointment. Let the loud things soften. Let the sharp things lose their edges. Let the important things keep their shape without taking over the room. The alert parts of you that stand ready in daylight are invited to sit down. The watchtower dims its lantern. The inner hands that grip the wheel learn again how to rest in the lap. This is not ignoring. It is a change of posture. When the hands loosen, feeling can pass through without snagging. You do not need to push it away, and you do not need to pull it closer. It can flow like a tide around the ankles and out again. Sometimes the day leaves an echo, a sentence you wish had landed better, a look you didn't understand, a choice still wearing its price tag. Night is good at turning echoes into distant hums. The same story that felt too bright becomes a softer silhouette. You can observe it the way you watch a shoreline from a slow boat present, but not pressing. If the mind tries to sprint toward it, the body answers with breath. In and out, in and out. The sprint remembers how to walk. You may notice the face unlearns the day. The brow releases its crease. The jaw unhooks. The eyes, even closed, stop searching the room. Muscles listen for trouble and hear none. In that quiet, feelings behave differently. They do not shout to be heard. They take turns. The sad parts sit, the worried parts sit, the proud and tired and tender parts sit. Each gets a chair and some air. None has to stand in the doorway and block the hall. Some feelings arrive in dreams where the story wears them lightly. A worry becomes a puzzle with soft corners. Frustration becomes a train that finally finds a track. Longing becomes a room with a window open to warm air. Not every dream is pleasant, but even unease is allowed to pass through as weather. You wake, and the sky inside is not the same color it was. There is more space between clouds. If you wake in the middle, and something heavy sits on the chest, treat it like a visitor who came at the wrong hour. Offer water in the form of breath. Offer a place to wait in the form of stillness. Tell it kindly, morning, and let your body be the one that answers the door when the sun is up. You do not have to host a guest at 2 a.m. The house can be dark and kind at the same time. Night also practices perspective. It places today next to other days and makes a small map. A spike that looked like a mountain becomes a hill among hills. A hill that truly matters keeps its height but gets a path around it. This is not forgetting. This is scale. Many troubles lose power when they are seen in proportion. Many joys feel cleaner when they are not asked to glow all night. There is a steadiness that returns here. The nervous system, which spent hours scanning and deciding, rediscovers the long exhale. The long exhale tells the heart, and the heart tells the rest. We are safe enough to be slower. Slow is not failure. Slow is care. In slow, kindness is easier to choose, and small irritations have fewer places to hook. Resilience does not mean toughening until nothing can touch you. It means springing back toward shape after being pressed. Sleep helps the spring remember itself. By morning, the same schedule looks less like a wall and more like a set of doors. The same conversation feels less like a test and more like a meeting. The same problem is still a problem, but it is no longer the whole room. If the day carried grief, night does not erase it. It tucks it in. It keeps grief from overflowing its container and washing away other colors. You are allowed to sleep while carrying love and loss at the same time. Rest is not betrayal. Rest is how the body keeps the lamp lit for the person you miss, so you can see the world around that lamp when light returns. If the day carried anger, night cools the pan so that breakfast does not burn. Heat has its use, but not every hour. In the dark, the story that kept adding fuel simply runs out of matches. You wake with a choice you could not reach before, to strike another match or to cook on a lower flame. Many mornings taste better for it. Small kindnesses multiply here, often without your help. The body chooses them because they are efficient. A looser shoulder is kinder to the neck. A slower breath is kinder to the heart. A quieter inner voice is kinder to attention and to the people you will speak with tomorrow. You do not have to practice kindness in your sleep. You only have to allow the conditions where kindness grows by itself. If a memory arrives with heat, try naming just the physical anchor you feel now, the weight at the heels, the contact at the hips or back, the cool at the tip of the nose. Are not analyzing. You are locating. Located bodies feel safer. Safer bodies let emotions move without breaking furniture. Then the scene can turn down and take a seat like everyone else. Think of resilience as space between stimulus and response. Daytime shrinks that space when you are rushed. Night widens it again. In the morning, you step into the same hallway with more room to turn. You notice the handle before the door. You notice your breath before your words. This is how rest becomes. A kind of intelligence, less friction, better timing, a softer grip on the wheel. Some people imagine this part of sleep as a gentle repair of strings on an instrument. The tight strings relax until the pitch stops warping. The slack strings tighten until they sing again. You are that instrument, tuned for the next piece. No audience, no stage lights, only a careful ear in a dark room, listening until the notes agree. If you cannot feel any of this while it happens, that is fine. Most of sleep's gifts arrive without a receipt. You notice them only by comparison. The day feels less grainy. The mind catches fewer burrs. The mouth waits one more beat before speaking. These are small, sturdy changes. They build on each other quietly. They make the week easier to carry. When the inner weather has steadied, the night prepares its next lesson. The rhythms that guided these changes, the calm and the drift, they dips into depth, and the gentle returns are steered by two simple drivers. One listens to daylight and darkness. The other builds softly with every waking hour. We will visit them now, the inner clock and the pressure that invites sleep, too. Rivers meeting and flowing together into the quiet. The inner weather has steadied. Now we look very gently at what guides the rhythm of a night and a day. Two quiet drivers share the wheel. One listens to light and darkness, keeping time for the whole house. The other builds softly with each. Waking hour, like sand gathering at the bottom of an hourglass. They do not argue. They learn each other's steps and move together. The first driver is a clock that does not live on the wall. It lives in you. It pays attention to dawn and dusk, the way a flower does, opening and dimming on schedule, even when the room is silent. This clock does not rush you. It simply sets a tendency. More alertness when the day is bright, more willingness to drift. When the world grows dark, you do not have to set it by hand every morning. A little daylight on the eyes is enough to remind it what time it is. The second driver is pressure that gathers quietly as you stay awake. Imagine small pebbles placed into a pocket, one by one, through the hours. You barely notice the first. Ones. By afternoon, the pocket hangs a little heavier. By evening, you are glad to set the pocket on the bedside table and let it empty itself while you sleep. This is not a trick you perform. It is a simple kindness the body offers after a day of being alive. Together, the clock and the pressure make a wave you can ride. The clock says, "Now is a good window," and the pressure says, "I am ready to go through it." When they overlap, sleep arrives with almost no effort. When they miss each other, you can feel a little tangled tired at noon, awake at midnight. That tangle is not a flaw. It is only timing, and timing can be helped without force. Across a normal day, the pressure rises in a smooth slope, with a gentle dip in the middle and afternoon valley, where many cultures built a rest on purpose. You may feel that valley is a yawn you cannot explain. You may ignore it and be fine. You may close your eyes for a short while and also be fine. The clock allows this valley without making a rule out of it. Valleys are options, not assignments. Later, as evening deepens, the clock dimly suggests now, and the pressure, which has been stacking its small pebbles, answers, yes. The match does not need to be perfect. If you have ever felt sleep arrive like a tide you couldn't resist in a quiet room, that was the overlap working in your favor. If you have ever felt wide awake in bright light after midnight, that was the clock pulling you toward day, even while the pressure was ready. Both stories are ordinary. Neither means you are broken. There is a moment some people call a second wind, a late spark that appears just when you plan to settle. It can come from bright light, from a scroll that wakes the eyes, from a mind that turns toward plans just as the pressure was about to open the door. This spark is not an enemy. It is simply the clock reminding the body that it knows how to be alert at night if invited. You can thank it and let it pass. Dim light helps. Quiet helps. Breathing like someone with no appointments helps dot travel, and long evenings can move the clock. It slides more easily than it leaps. A time zone crossed in a day may need a handful of mornings to feel natural. That is the clock taking careful steps to find the sun again. You do not have to push it. You can offer it simple anchors: light after waking, darkness before bed, meals and movement in the new day. The pressure will follow along because it only counts waking hours and does not care where the calendar says you are. Shifted schedules. Do not cancel the two drivers. They simply change the scenery. The clock can learn a night shift if it receives a pattern-consistent wake time. Planned light, planned dark. The pressure will still gather as you work and release as you sleep. Even if the pattern is imperfect, bodies can live kindly inside imperfect patterns. The point is not to earn an award. The point is to give both drivers enough signals that they can see each other and cooperate. Chronotypes. Early birds and night owls are variations in where the clock likes to point. Neither is superior. A dawn-leaning body may feel most itself when mornings start sooner. An evening-leaning body may think cleanest after the sun goes down. Life does not always fit these preferences, but knowing them reduces the friction. When you understand which way your inner clock tends to lean, you can aim your day a little closer to it, where possible, and forgive yourself where not. The pressure driver appreciates steadiness. It likes a day that begins at about the same time. Most days, because then its buildup starts from a known place. It likes a night that begins after a similar span, because then its emptying has time to finish. On rare days when the span is too long, the pocket gets very heavy and you fall into sleep quickly, only to wake oddly. On days when the span is short, the pocket hasn't gathered much, and sleep may be brief. Neither is a failure. They are simply results that teach you what enough feels like. Caffeine and excitement can whisper to the pressure driver, "Hold on a bit longer." Sometimes that is welcome. Sometimes it muddies the timing. You do not need rules here. Just notice how the late spark feels when it wears a cup's coat, and how the body answers when the coat is left in the morning instead. Over a few days, the difference becomes easy to read, and you can choose what feels kind. The clock driver listens to light even with closed lids. Screens, lamps, lively rooms. These are tiny suns. When they shine late, the clock leans forward and says, "Perhaps." We are still in the day. When darkness gathers, the clock relaxes and signals we may drift. You do not have to live in a cave. You can simply let the evening be a little dimmer, the last hour a little quieter. The clock is sensitive and grateful. Temperature is another gentle line on the clock's face. Cool air in the evening tells the body a seasonal truth. Day is giving. Way to night. Warm baths can do the same by letting heat leave the skin afterward, a small trick the body reads as cooling now. Routines that repeat at about the same hour also speak to both drivers at once. Pressure anticipates rest, and the clock nods along. You may notice that these drivers are not hammers. They are invitations. You cannot force yourself to sleep on. Command any more than you can force the ocean to high tide. But you can watch the moon and know when the water will likely rise. You can meet it at the shore with dry feet and a quiet mind. Timing converts effort into ease. If a night feels out of tune, too much pressure and a lively clock, or a sleepy clock and very little pressure, kindness still applies. Lie down anyway. Rest has grades, and even a light dose is useful. Next day, begin again with a steady wake time if you can, a taste of daylight, some movement, and later, a dimmer evening. The drivers will find each other with these small hints. The way two friends locate one another in a crowd, by lifting a hand. When the clock and pressure line up, sleep is less a task and more a place you arrive. You do not think your way there. You drift because the river is flowing in that direction, and you are already in the boat. Mornings feel less like a rescue and more like a shore you are always going to reach. This is not perfection. It is cooperation that you do not need to remember any of this as facts. It is enough to remember the picture, a clock that listens to light and a soft weight that gathers with wakefulness. Help the clock with simple cues. Help the pressure with steady spans. Then step aside and let them do the rest. Timing will deliver you to the quiet water you have already learned to trust. From here, we will talk about those simple cues, how dim light, cooler air, and familiar steps can nudge both drivers into agreement. No rules, only options. Only gentle signals that say to the body, it is safe to go down. We will visit them now one by one, like small lamps turned low before bed. We will keep this simple. Sleep is not a switch. It is a direction. Quiet cues point in that direction without force. You do not have to be perfect with them. You only have to let the body notice them, the way a shoreline notices the tide gradually, then all at once. Light is the first cue. In the evening, the eyes are small messengers to the inner clock. Bright screens and strong lamps are like tiny suns. They whisper, perhaps it is still day. Dimming the room tells the clock, we can drift. You do not need darkness. At noon levels, just let the last hour be a shade or two lower than the rest. A lamp pointed at the wall instead of your face. A screen a little further away. A page with larger type so the eyes do not squint. Small changes travel far inside that if a screen must be on. You can treat it like a campfire at a distance present, but not close enough to warm the eyelids. Lower brightness. Increase text size. Turn off the scrolling that invites chasing. When the scroll stops, attention stops tugging on the line. You are not eliminating light. You are choosing its angle and its softness. The clock is sensitive. It will take the hint. Temperature is the second cue. The body likes to cool a little before it settles. You can help it without measuring anything. Let the room be slightly cooler than the day. Let the blanket do the warming while the air does. The calming. A warm bath or shower earlier in the evening can help, not because heat induces sleep, but because warmth at the surface lets heat leave afterward, like steam rising from a stone after rain. The body reads that drop as down. Down is the direction we want. Feet often negotiate their own treaty with temperature. If they want a cooler patch of sheet, let them find it and then be still. If they want socks, let them have socks and then be still. Comfort is not a rule. It is a moving target you can allow. When comfort shows up, the nervous system retires a few guards, and the room grows quieter inside. Habit is the third cue. Not a strict routine, just a small sequence repeated in roughly the same order most nights. The sequence becomes a lullaby. Your body recognizes a glass of water on the bedside table, a page or two of gentle reading, a minute or two of stillness with the screen already off, a short stretch that tells the shoulders, nothing left to carry. Your sequence can be 5 minutes or 15. The length is less important than the pattern. Patterns are shortcuts. They let the brain move without deciding. If you like, place one simple anchor near the end of the sequence, something you can repeat even in a new hotel room or on a restless night. It might be the way you stack the pillows, the sentence you say to yourself, the 3 slow breaths that begin the same way each time. Anchors do not force sleep. They invite it to dock where it has docked before. Food and drink are quiet cues too. The body prefers a calm stomach at night. If the last meal was large or late, let time and stillness do the smoothing. You do not need to judge yourself for it. Just know that a gentler evening most nights makes a gentler night most nights. As for caffeine, it is a morning coat that sometimes stays on too late. You can try hanging it by midday and see whether the evening quiet speaks more clearly. Experiments teach faster than rules. Noise can be shaped. Silence is not required. Predictable sound is kinder than surprising. Sound. A fan, a soft hum, a hallway's distant hush. These are patterns the brain can ignore. Sudden alerts keep the watchtower occupied. If you cannot change the noise, you can change the meaning. Tell yourself, that's the building breathing. And let the story end there. Meaning is half of noise. Movement is a cue, and so is stillness. Late, bright exercise can feel like a sunrise to a clock that was ready for dusk. Earlier movement lets the day use its energy and lets the night enjoy. It's calm. In the last hour, softer motion is enough. A slow stretch, a short walk in a dim room, a gentle roll of the neck. You are telling the body, no more alarms tonight. The body listens better when the message is delivered by muscles and breath. Attention is also a cue. What you look at just before bed tends to echo. If the mind needs something to hold, give it something soft and steady. A sentence you know by heart. A short picture. A pier at night, water tapping the wood, a lantern turning low. A kind memory that does not pull you forward. When attention has a gentle object, it stops shopping. For sharper ones, you can use breath as a universal nudge. No counting is required, but if counting helps, let the exhale be a little longer than the inhale. 4 and 6, 3 and 5, even 2 and 3. The numbers do not matter. The shape matters. In soft pause, out soft pause. The pauses are not empty. They are full of nothing to do. Over a few cycles, the heart and the watchful parts take the message and sit down. Waking times are part of the habit cue. The body likes to begin days from a similar place. When wake time drifts wildly, the clock loses the sun's address and guesses. When wake time clusters around a similar hour, the guess becomes a memory. This is not a contract. It is a preference. That, when met most days, makes the rest of the cues more effective with less effort. On nights when quiet cues were not possible, late lights, late food, lively thoughts, you can still reduce friction. Turn one lamp down. Put the phone face down across the room. Sip a little water. Let the room cool 1 degree. Choose a sentence that ends the day. I did enough for today. Then let the body choose how much sleep it will take this time. Even when sleep is short, rest is real. Lying quietly in the dark is not a waste. It is partial recovery with interest. Travel, guests, deadlines. Life will bend your evenings. Cues adapt. A small ritual travels well. Dim light can be made with a scarf over a lamp. A bath can be replaced by warm hands on the face and neck, then cool air afterward. A long routine can shrink to 3 breaths standing by the bed. You are not failing when you scale down. You are telling the body, even tonight, I will point us the right way. There is kindness in avoiding friction rather than chasing perfection. Avoid the clock check that wakes the mind. Avoid the debate about tomorrow while the library is filing. Avoid the scroll that keeps selling you 1 more minute of day. Each avoid is not a rule, but a door quietly closed, so wind does not enter. Door closed, room dim, air cool. Sequence simple. The house makes its own weather. If a second wind arrives anyway, eyes bright, ideas loud, you can meet it without wrestling. Dim a little more. Sit for a minute with both feet on the floor. Notice 3 anchors: the floor under the heels, the contact at hips or back, the air at the tip of the nose. Then resume the small sequence you trust. Second winds are brief when there is nothing to push against. You do not have to remember any of this as a list. Remember the picture: light lower, air cooler, steps familiar. When those 3 line up, the clock and the pressure you met earlier see each other clearly. They nod, and the tide comes in. If only 1 or 2 line up, that is still enough to reduce effort. The body appreciates even partial kindness. It keeps score in ease when the room is dim, and the air is kind, and the steps are done. The mind often becomes willing to wander. Images appear without being summoned. Stories begin to sketch themselves without needing endings. We are close to that now. Let the last small lamp turn low. Let the breath draw the curtains. We will walk into dreams without demands, scenes that visit and pass, gentle rehearsals that the body keeps safe while you remain at rest. The room is dim, the air is kind, the body is quiet and willing. Now the mind is free to wander without being chased. This is the hour of dreams. Dreams arrive the way fog arrives over a field, without edges, without hurry. They borrow pieces from the day and from long ago, sew them together in soft thread, and hold them up to the light for a moment. A street you once knew may bend toward a door you have never opened. A familiar voice may speak a new sentence and then fade. You do not need to follow. You are allowed to drift beside the scene, as if on a slow river. Dreams are practice without risk. They let feelings stretch their legs on a safe stage. A worry becomes smaller when it is not required to finish its speech. A hope becomes clearer when it is allowed to rehearse without an audience. The body keeps you still so the mind can move. Muscles rest. Breath keeps time. The story can run, and the frame stays steady. Some dreams are about sorting. They pick up a detail you did not have time to file, roll it between quiet hands, and place it where it belongs. A face sits next to a name. A place sits next to a map. A task sits next to the first step. You do not need to know this happened. You will only feel that tomorrow's thoughts take fewer turns to reach each other. Some dreams are about softening. They visit a feeling that was too sharp by daylight and sanded at the edges. Anger cools to warmth. Fear thins to caution. Sadness finds a chair instead of standing in the door. Nothing is erased. The volume lowers so you can hear more than one thing at once. Some dreams are about play. They mix colors that never meet in waking life and teach you a lighter kind of creativity. A problem becomes a puzzle that does not need solving. Two ideas that ignored each other in the afternoon share a table at night. You wake not with a trumpet blast, but with a small clarity, a next step that feels nearer than before. It is common not to remember dreams. Memory of the show is not the measure of its value. Many performances happen behind a curtain and still change the set. If a scene does follow you into morning, you may write a title or a single line. If it does not, you may let it go the way. You let go of a wave after it passes, grateful for the motion, not in need of the shape. If you wake during a vivid scene, you can be kind to yourself. Feel three anchors: the heels in the bed, the weight where hips or back meet the mattress, the cool at the tip of the nose. Say quietly, only a dream, not to dismiss it, but to set it down. Let the breath lengthen by one number on the way. Out. Let the eyes be stones again. The picture knows how to fade when you stop holding the frame. Not every dream is comfortable. Unease can visit without harm. When a scene startles you, treat it as weather. You are indoors, and the storm is passing outside the window of the mind. Close the curtains with one slow exhale. Let the next inhale be smaller than the one before. You are safe in your bed. The story is made of mist and will thin. You may notice themes that return over months: running but not moving, finding a room behind a room, searching and almost arriving. These repeats are gentle messengers. They often mean something is in progress, not something is wrong. The mind loves to test roads while the body rests. Let it test. You will take the real step in daylight when it counts dots and dreams. Feel like letters from the past, a house you lived in, a friend you miss, a teacher who once spoke carefully and changed your direction by a degree. In dreams, you are allowed to visit without traveling. You may say hello without needing to stay. You wake with a soft afterglow. the kind that makes a morning kinder without telling anyone why. Other dreams feel like letters from the future. They show you a version of yourself doing something ordinary with ease, pouring tea, saying no with a smile, leaving on time. These are rehearsals. The mind tries the costume on so the body can wear it more comfortably later. No pressure. Only a quiet fitting. You do not need to steer content. Trying to aim a dream is like trying to hold fog in a cup. If you enjoy setting a soft scene before sleep appear at night, a garden after rain, you may do so, and then let whatever comes, come. The value of the night is not in controlling the story. It is in allowing the story to move while you are safely still. Morning is not a test of recall. It is a doorway. If a dream lingers and feels heavy, give it a name and a shelf, and then attend to light, water, and motion. The day will take the dream where it needs to go. If a dream lingers and feels kind, carry one sentence from it like a small stone in your pocket. Let it keep you company without asking for meaning. Remember that dreams tend to visit more often toward morning. Earlier cycles are heavier with quiet. Later cycles grow brighter with story. If you wake near dawn from a full scene, you have not done anything wrong. You have reached a natural clearing between acts. Turn the pillow. Find a cool patch. Step back into the river and let the next arc carry you a little farther. There is a humility to dreams. They do not insist on being understood. They do not punish you for forgetting. They are a service offered in the background. Emotional housekeeping, creative rehearsal, gentle filing, small repairs. You are not required to attend, only to allow. When you allow, the day holds together more easily. Edges catch less. Breath meets moments before words do. If you ever doubt their usefulness, notice this. After nights when dreams had room, you often move with quieter confidence. You speak with a fraction more patience. You choose with a fraction more clarity. Half a degree here and half a degree there. And by evening the path you walked is kinder than it would have been. That is the work of scenes that did not ask to be remembered. Let them continue now, if they wish. Let images form and fade without. A hand on the pen. Let feelings visit and sit and leave. You are safe. You are still. Your breath is the small lamp that stays on while the theater works. Across a lifetime, these nightly stories change. Some ages carry more of them, some less. Some seasons invite bright scenes, others prefer soft silhouettes. The pattern shifts and still serves. From here, we will step back and look at that wider arc, how sleep bends from infancy to age, and how each season remains welcome in the house of night. The night is the same sky for everyone, and yet it wears different constellations as we move through life. Infancy, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, older age. Each season keeps its own calendar inside the same house. Nothing here is a test. Nothing here is a ranking. The pattern bends and still serves. In the beginning, sleep comes in many pieces. Babies live on short tides, feeding, dozing, waking, dozing again. The night is not a single ocean, but a chain of coves. Dream-rich sleep visits often. Quiet, deep sleep visits often too. The body is building quickly and does not mind arriving at the shore many times. Caregivers learn a new map. They nap where they never used to. They close their eyes between chores. Like sailors resting by turns. This is not broken sleep. It is early sleep, the kind that grows a body and teaches a brain its first rhythms. Childhood gathers those pieces and stitches them into longer stretches. Many children drop their naps like autumn leaves and lengthen the night instead. Deep. Slow sleep is generous here. Mornings often deliver a body that is taller than it was a month ago, a mind that has more room for words and games. Bedtimes can be soft rituals. One story, one question, one lamp turned low, and the body recognizes the sequence as a lullaby. Storms pass. Fevers, growth spurts, vivid dreams. They pass, and the bigger pattern resumes. Adolescence tilts the clock. Many teens feel night arrive later and morning come too soon. It is not laziness. It is timing. The inner sun sets a little farther west for a while. Homework and early bells tug at the schedule, but the body still knows how to sleep. It simply prefers a later door. If mornings feel like walking into bright water before you're ready, be kind to that season dimmer nights, a steady rise time, daylight soon after waking. Small allowances make a big difference when the clock leans late. Young adulthood consolidates. Sleep tends to collect in one long river with a few eddies. Life is busy and varied. Studies, shifts, travel, friendships, new homes. Some weeks carry late nights and early mornings. Some weekends stretch. Bodies are sturdy, but they still keep score in ease. A handful of steady anchors light after waking, dimness before bed, movement most days, help the river keep its channel. Even when the banks change, work and caregiving redraw the map again. Parents wake at hours the clock did not plan, and learn that rest has grades lying quiet in the dark. A nap at midday, an early night when the house finally muffles. Night shift workers rearrange the furniture of their days. Planned light becomes their dawn. Blackout curtains become their dusk. The pattern is not wrong. It is adapted. Bodies are good at living kindly inside imperfect patterns when given a few consistent cues. Pregnancy and postpartum are seasons of their own. The body is busy with a double task. Comfort shifts from week to week. Nights can be light and often interrupted. Rest shows up in fragments, an extra hour here, a nap there, a chair that finally feels right. None of this means failure. It is the architecture of a house that is adding rooms. When the construction slows, nights often find their longer shape. Again, midlife sometimes feels like a busy harbor. Responsibilities dock at all hours. A message late, an early train, a mind that keeps the ledger open too long. Sleep can be shortened, and yet the body remains practical. Give it a steadier wake time, a dimmer last hour, and it begins to repair the harbor lights. You notice fewer collisions, fewer alarms. Even when nights are not perfect, the week grows. Smoother when most of them rhyme. Older adulthood often lightens the fabric of sleep. The night may include more brief awakenings, more turns of the pillow, an earlier tide toward bed, and an earlier tide toward day. This is common. It can feel unfamiliar if you remember the heavy, unbroken nights of youth, but lighter sleep is not useless sleep. Rest remains real. Short naps can act as gentle bridges kept modest and placed wisely. They carry you from one shore to the next without keeping you from the night. Illness and recovery bend the pattern whenever they visit. Fever, pain, new medicines these can. Rattle the windows. The body answers by asking for more rest or different rest. You are allowed to give it what it asks when you can. Sleep is not a luxury during repair. It is the scaffolding that holds the work. When the scaffolding comes down, the old rhythm or a new, livable one often appears. Culture and place leave their fingerprints too. Some towns still pause in the afternoon. Some families keep late dinners and late conversations. Some jobs ask the night to be day for a while. Across these variations, the same simple helps reappear. Morning light, to set the internal sun, dim evenings to invite drift. Familiar steps that tell the body, we are safe. We can go down. Throughout all seasons, perfect nights are rare. What matters is not a single sleep, but the arc across many. A short night among long ones. A restless week among steady months. Patterns speak more loudly than episodes. When a pattern no longer feels kind, you can change it by touch rather than force one lamp lower, one habit simpler, one wake time steadier, one breath longer on the way out. You may also notice how time changes what you count. In youth, you count hours. Later, you count how easily the day moves. Ease is a good measure. Fewer burrs in the mind, less gravel in the joints, kinder timing in conversations. Sleep gives ease in all seasons, just in different forms, long, deep. Blocks in early years, lighter, stitched comfort later. And always, the same promise that tomorrow will be easier to carry when night has done some of the lifting. If you share a bed, seasons can overlap. One partner runs warmer, one cooler. One rises with birds, one prefers stars. Kindness is the technology here. A second blanket, a cooler room, a soft agreement about lamps. A shared ritual that ends with see you in the morning. Two clocks can learn to dance without stepping on toes when the floor is kept smooth. Those who live alone, rituals become company. A mug placed in the same spot. A sentence that ends the day. A window checked, a light turned low, a hand resting briefly on the doorframe like a goodnight to the house. Patterns are gentle companions. They make rooms feel held even when they are quiet. Sleep across a lifetime is not a line, but a coastline curved, weathered, always touching the same sea. Some bays are deep, some are shallow, some are calm, some are busy with boats, but the water is the same water, and it returns each night. You are allowed to meet it as you are in the season you are in. You are allowed to rest in pieces or all. At once, you are allowed to ask less of the night when the day has asked a lot of you. When you wake tomorrow, the gifts of this season's sleep may be modest and sturdy. A steadier step, a kinder mood, a cleaner edge on attention. These are enough. They are the proof that night kept its quiet promises. From here, we will acknowledge those gifts, the way rest becomes clearer focus, easier creativity, and gentler care for yourself and others. We will step into morning together, not rushing, only noticing how the day feels different when the night has done its work. Morning begins long before light touches the window. It begins now, in the quiet you are allowing. The night is doing small work that looks like nothing. Smoothing edges, clearing aisles, laying out tools. You do not have to check on it. You will know by the feel of tomorrow. Focus does not always arrive as a spotlight. Sometimes it is simply fewer distractions tugging at your sleeve. A sentence finishes itself without 3 detours. A name stands where you left it. A decision that felt slippery holds still long enough to be held. The gift of focus is often subtraction. Less friction between thought and action. Less grit in the gears when you begin. Your eyes choose one thing and let the rest fall quiet. You do not push. You aim, and the arrow flies as if the air were lighter. Attention loves a clear desk. Sleep clears it without emptying it. There is still enough on the table to matter, just not enough to crowd. You will notice this when you pick up a task, and the task does not pick up you. You put it down and it stays put, waiting politely for your return. Creativity rarely arrives with trumpets. It prefers to wait just off stage until the lights are soft and the room is ready. Night prepares that room. Connections that were too far apart to see each other move closer. A shape that was almost right becomes right enough to try. You may wake with a small clarity, a first line, a cleaner sketch, a simpler path to the heart of an idea. It will not demand attention. It will offer itself. You will notice that you are less precious about beginnings. You start sooner because the starting does not feel like a cliff. It feels like a step down onto a path that is already swept. The day after good rest is not louder. It is kinder. Conversations find their timing. You hear the end of the other person's sentence before you add your own. You remember to breathe in the gap between impulse and reply. The gap is where care lives, and sleep quietly widens it. Care for yourself is also simpler when the night has done some lifting. Hunger and fullness speak in clearer voices. You can hear enough and not yet without a crowd shouting over them. The body asks for water, and you give it. The posture asks for an inch more space, and you grant it. Patience is not only a virtue after rest, it is a sensation. It feels like room around a moment. Traffic moves, and you do not move with it. A small error appears, and you choose a smaller. Correction. You waste less energy on heat and keep more for light. Even effort changes character. It stops being a grind and becomes a rhythm. You work in arcs, not spikes. Attention, small pause, attention again. The pause is not lost time. It is the breath that keeps the music in tune. Rest teaches that pattern, and the day remembers. If a challenge waits tomorrow, an exam, a pitch, a conversation that matters, sleep does not do the work for you. It does something kinder. It makes your work easier to reach. Recall steps out when called. Nerves arrive as energy rather than noise. The same body that lay heavy in the dark stands steady in the light. You might notice how ordinary chores become smoother. Keys in the bowl the first time. Emails in one sitting instead of 6. Groceries put away with less clatter in the mind. None of this looks heroic, and yet the sum is relief. Relationships register the change as ease. Your face is quieter. Your tone loses a sharp edge you didn't mean to carry. Listening grows teeth. It can bite through confusion gently and reach the point. Kindness stops being a decision and becomes a default. Sleep also lends you better. Boundaries. Saying no does not sound like shutting a door. It sounds like leaving a door for something else that matters. You notice the weight of yes before you lift it. You place it where it belongs or let it stay on the table for another day. This is care wearing the clothes of clarity. On mornings after softer nights, the world often looks a half shade. Cleaner, not transformed, just less fog between you and what you aim to do. Light finds surfaces and stays. You step into tasks without spending yourself in the first minute. The day gets more of you, and you get more of the day. If the night was short, gifts may still arrive in smaller boxes. A 10-minute nap makes 1 hour gentler. A quiet lunch away from glare resets the second half. Rest is not all or nothing. It is cumulative and forgiving. Even fragments add up when you collect them kindly. There will be seasons when sleep is light or scattered. Babies, deadlines, travel, weather in the mind. You are not failing in those seasons. You are living. Keep 1 or 2 anchors. A reliable. Wake time when possible. A dimmer last hour. A breath that ends the day. The body remembers favors and repays them when it can. Focus, creativity, and care are not prizes. They are byproducts of conditions you are allowed to create. Darkness that invites down. Cool air that tells the clock a true story. Familiar steps that teach the nervous system to stand down. Night uses these ingredients to bake a morning you. Can carry without spilling. Notice how the gifts travel outward. Clearer focus makes room for better choices. Better choices make room for kinder schedules. Kinder schedules make room for steadier nights. The loop closes not with effort, but with alignment. You do not need to measure these changes every hour. Let the day be your witness. When it moves more smoothly, when people feel easier to meet, when the list shrinks without scraping you thin, that is sleep speaking in plain language. Believe it. It is a quiet teacher with a perfect memory. If you ever doubt the value of closing your eyes, remember this. In darkness, your body chooses maintenance over performance, and that choice is what makes performance possible. You are not lazy when you rest. You are letting the scaffolding hold while the building grows. Tomorrow is safer and clearer because tonight you did less. Less is sometimes the most intelligent choice in the room. We are nearly done. Let the thought of morning be soft, like light through curtains. No pressure to wake at a trumpet. No lists marching in formation. Only the sense that the floor will meet your feet, and the next good thing will be within reach. From here, there, is nothing to follow but your own breath. Let the last words fade into the room. Let silence do what words cannot. You are held. You are allowed to fall the rest of the way into night. That's all for tonight. Let the last words dissolve into the room. There is nowhere you need to be and nothing to hold. Close your eyes and let the quiet carry you the rest of the way. Sleep is welcome here. Good night.